Great. So this is the SHIP graduate panel. We have some panelists that you guys will be able to ask questions to. Hopefully you have some good ones. And we're starting with Juan.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming. So my name is Juan Luna. I am currently a 4+1 master's student doing computer engineering with a emphasis in electrical engineering. I finished my bachelor's in electrical engineering like spring of 2019, so almost 2 years. Yeah, just going with my experiences. So right now I'm actually a system-on-chip design engineer intern with Intel. My role is basically focused on emulation, synthesis of RTL onto FPGAs for, fast waveform captures and quicker debug onto actual silicon. Before that, I was a control engineering intern with Salt River Project, which is a power utility company in Phoenix. With them, I was doing SCADA, which is security control and data acquisition, and control logic. So that was basically automating a lot of the power substations and making sure that, if we ever had a trip or a power failure, that we were able to monitor it and send a notice to the proper technicians to go out there and fix them. So that's me over at the Robert Noyce building in Santa Clara, which is Intel's headquarters. Me next to the big Intel. That was taken last summer with my first internship with Intel. I'm currently on my second internship, working part-time still. And because of my master's, I was able to get that internship. That group specifically was looking for master's students. So if I hadn't have, gone and pursued my master's, I probably wouldn't have been able to get this opportunity with them. So what really drives me and made me decide to pursue a master's degree in my case was personally, I just wanted to see how high I could fly, push myself, as hard as I could to see just how much I could really accomplish as a first generation college student. Why stop at just, getting a bachelor's when I can get a master's too, right? Especially when ASU makes it so easy with programs such as the 4+1. So people do ask me, like, why do I feel like NMS is good? If I think it's necessary, if it's beneficial. For me, it's really just a personal choice. I'm not going to recommend a master's to everyone. Really, you should pursue a master's if that's what you feel like you need to further yourself and make yourself more distinguished in your career and in your field. So if you're like passionate about something, that you've learned, when I was doing my bachelor's in EE, for me, it was VLSI, which is very large scale integrated circuits. And I thought that was probably the most interesting thing and coolest thing that I had worked on in my coursework up until that point. So I was just so interested to learn more about it that I decided to, really buckle down and focus and get a master's in this subject. Another thing is, I usually, when you graduate with just a bachelor's, you go into industry as an entry-level engineer, stuff like applications engineer or test engineer. But for me personally, I really wanted to dive into the more intensive jobs, and that's like regarding like design jobs, making the big decisions in what goes in a system, how we validate the system, stuff like that. So if you want more responsibility and you want to be prepared to take on that responsibility, then I think a master's or a PhD will give you the background that you need to accomplish that.
Thank you, Juan. Next, we have Sebastian.
Sorry, trying to unmute myself. Hey everyone, my name is Sebastian Ojeda. I'm a second year PhD student studying biomedical engineering at the University of Southern California. And yeah, I started off doing my bachelor's in chemical engineering at the University of Michigan. I also got my master's from the University of Michigan. I grew up in Ann Arbor, so I lived in Michigan for a long time. And then I decided that a lot more of my interests lied in research positions. And so I decided to pursue a PhD. And so a lot of my experiences throughout my undergrad were research focused. I actually started off and not in the College of Engineering at Michigan. I was in the College of Literature, Science, and Arts. And I thought I was going to do maybe like political science or computer science, maybe. I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. And so I bounced around a lot in terms of like what majors and courses I was taking. And I ended up deciding chemical engineering because I got into summer research position in a chemi lab. It was a Dr. Aniola's lab in cell adhesion and drug delivery. And so I kind of got into that realm of like bioengineering research. And that really helped me in terms of like finding out what I wanted to do with my, as an undergrad and really for my career choices. And so afterwards, I applied to different research positions over the summers. I did an internship in Germany with this research lab there. There's this really, really cool program if anyone's interested in summer research called the DAD-RISE Germany. And it's awesome because they pay you to go there, they match you with a university. You get to do like a summer research project. It's a great experience. So I think the applications are due sometime the end of the first semester. So if you guys are interested in that, I would definitely look into that. And then after like my research experiences as an undergrad, I decided to pursue a PhD. And I had already kind of committed to doing a 4+1 master's program because I initially thought I was going to go into industry, but then I kept doing research throughout my master's program and decided to go into a PhD, which is why I'm now at USC. And I think the PhD life, it's not for everyone. And it's, I think a lot of times it's really dependent on what sort of work you want to do. But if anyone's really interested in research in particular and careers in academia, I think a PhD is really the best way to go about that. But I'm be happy to answer more questions about like the general process of applying to graduate school for PhD, and also like how to build your portfolio as a researcher, things like that. I'm really here to just give you more advice about that. And just a quick plug, I am organizing a conference this Saturday, and it's going to go through the different graduate career pathways and how to apply, like how you can kind of fit graduate school into your career plans. It's called the Graduate Pathways to STEM Conference, and it's virtual this year. And so if anyone is interested in that, let me know, because registration is technically over, but I can still open the registration link for anyone who is interested. It's all Saturday, and we're getting like panelists and workshop speakers that are going to talk about how to apply to graduate school, what are the different options, and you also have a chance to network with different students and current professionals and academic faculty from different universities, not just USC, but universities across the US. So yeah, I think that's pretty much the intro for me, but I'm here for any questions.
Thank you so much, Sebastian.
Yeah.
Next up, we have Michael.
Hey, all right, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, okay. Okay, so yeah, I really liked what Sebastian was saying. If you need any more panelists or need help, I can definitely help out there. So my background is in mechanical engineering. I finished my bachelor's in 2012 and my master's in 2017. I was doing my PhD and started my PhD in 2012. So I did 5 years of my PhD. I didn't finish it, so I just picked up my master's and left. So I was a GEM fellow for Ford Motor Company. So I learned about the GEM fellowship through SHIP. And, you know, as a GEM fellow, you go work for Ford or you go work for a company for the summer. And then during the school year, you're doing your graduate work. So my PhD was on modeling, analysis, control, and design of micro air vehicles. Started the Micro Air Vehicle Club at ASU. We grew the club. We won like the best outreach program in all of IRA Fulton School of Engineering, doing like building mechanical flapping birds. And we just had a great time doing hands-on projects. That was the big deal. I worked as a mechanical engineer for Gecko Incorporated. They were bought out by Mercury Systems, doing some drone work for them. Then I was a CFD engineer for Honeywell and an instrumentation engineer for Honeywell, basically doing fluid analysis, modeling flow through a combustion gas turbine engine for the Predator drone. And currently I'm a engineer, computational fluid dynamics engineer for Sargent Aerospace Defense. I'm modeling valves. If you can see down there, you got the directional control valve. So you have fluid ports through the valve. It goes P to CA and CB to R. So you'll see flow moving through there. So one of the biggest drivers of why I wanted to pursue higher education was because I got with a mentor. So Dr. Rodriguez, he's still there at ASU. If you guys meet him, he's very inspirational. He was my mentor for like, I don't know, like 10 years or for a long time. And he motivated me to pursue graduate school so you could work on various cool projects or get to kind of choose your career and your decisions to kind of work on what you would like to work on. So that was one of the biggest motivation reasons why I wanted to do graduate school, because I wanted to work on whatever I want to work on. And yeah. So why do I feel PhD or MS is, why do you feel MS or PhD is a good choice in your professional journey? So I felt that, getting a master's or a PhD was going to help me in my career in doing computational fluid dynamics or finite element analysis. Most times as engineers, we want to design something, but we have to make sure that it'll maintain a good pressure drop or there'll be a good drag coefficient. So when I worked at Ford, you had to make sure vehicles had good drag profile, good lift profile. When I worked at Honeywell, engine has to maintain good thermal properties, has to maintain good pressure drop. And then at Sargent, same scenario. It has to maintain good pressure drop, and it has to maintain very good life. So the cycles has to be there. I would recommend going to grad school because it's going to help you further your education and get to work on cool projects and kind of motivate yourself to work on various challenging problems that are not solved today. We still don't have a good understanding of all the fluid dynamics that occurs in turbulence, and you still can win $1 million today if you can adequately solve the full Navier-Stokes equations. And if anyone has like questions about it, you can always email me or ask me about it. So, yeah.
Thank you, Michael. And yeah, I remember the outreach that you did with the MAB, that you did with the MAB club. I volunteered there a couple times. It was really fun.
Oh yeah. Yep. Nice.
And next up, I'm just gonna tell you guys a bit about myself. My name is Juan Ortiz. I completed my undergrad in computer systems engineering at ASU last year as well. Right now I'm a 4+1 student in computer engineering with the focus on computer systems at Arizona State University still. My experiences, I did a co-op with Intel actually at the same time as Juan. And I was working on post-silicon verification. It was basically how it sounds like after the chip is done and all that, we make sure it works. So it was just a bunch of testing chips and like verification boards, writing scripts to mock signals out, all that kind of stuff. I also interned at Western Digital, where I did firmware engineering, and it was mostly going on the Jira, which is where everyone like posts like whatever bugs they find in the code. And I was going there and fixing them, going through a lot of code reviews, regression testings, that kind of stuff. So yeah, it was really great. What made me decide to pursue higher education? Several professors encouraged me to pursue a master's. Actually, I worked with Dr. Rodriguez as well. And he encouraged me to do a FURI, which is the Fulton undergraduate research initiative. And I worked in this robot you see right here. The plan was to incorporate the two of them in a single unit. Fortunately, I didn't get to complete it altogether, but I'm glad I worked on that project because so I like since I was an undergrad, I knew that I wanted to do a master's because again, ASU makes it really easy, but I didn't know if I wanted to do like research, like doing a thesis, or just going the project or exam route. And doing this research project helped me see that even though I liked it, it wasn't what I wanted to do. So I ended up going the exam route. And also, by the time I applied, again, I was going to do it regardless, but I feel that a lot of people say no to graduate school because they're like, oh no, like I just want to work. I studied already for 4 years. I just want to go to an industry, get some money, right? At the time I applied, even though I already knew I wanted to go through it, I didn't have anything planned. I didn't have any offers or internships. So it was a really easy decision for me to say like, okay, whatever, I have nothing to lose, right? But then I got the Intel co-op, and what I did was just move my graduation date like a semester late, which is now. But yeah, why do I feel that master's or PhD is a good choice for me? Well, just like one, it's more like a personal goal to me. And I also feel like if you like what you do, you should try to be the best at it. So getting a master means better opportunities. You look more competitive to companies, and obviously you get better things. So that's a nice plus. But yeah, that's for me. And we can actually now do questions if you guys have any. You can either put them in the chat or unmute yourself and ask them.
Hi, I was wondering, can you hear me?
Yeah, hi, David.
Hi. Yeah. So I was wondering, for the people who did or applied to PhD programs, how did you compile the list of PhD programs to apply to, and then also how many of those PhD programs did you apply to?
That's a great question, actually, because I did the wrong thing. And so I initially went into the PhD process and was looking at the schools and like kind of like the graduate school rankings for different programs, and I was looking to apply to just those schools. But then when I was actually applying and looking at the professors who I wanted to work for, I found it pretty difficult to go in and like see which professors, what research they were doing, and I realized that a lot of the schools I wanted to apply to didn't have any research that was really relevant to what I wanted to do. And so I had to take a step back and reassess, and that's when I started to really look at like the research what research I was interested in, and looking at schools that way, like based on like the professors. And even with that, I think I like, because I didn't really know about like how to apply, I applied to like 14 different programs, which is like 10 programs too many. And so it took so much time. I like was like, oh, I remember that whole first semester I was so stressed, just like applying, and it's also expensive because when you apply to each program, like there is like an application fee. Although I would highly suggest when you apply to like reach out to program advisors and ask about fee waivers, because a lot of times they will provide it. And also in conferences like the SHIP conference, when they have like what do you call it, graduate schools presenting, the presenters will give you like a fee waiver. So that's why I got a couple fee waivers from the SHIP convention. But if I could redo the whole process, I would have first assessed what type of research I was interested in, and then looked at maybe 4, maximum 5 programs that I was interested in, like making sure that they have like a good range of like maybe 1 or 2 that I was like safe to get into, and then like and then maybe one that's a backup, and then one that I was really shooting up for. And that's how I would go about applying, because more than that, it's kind of a waste of time for you. You're not going to go to 4 or 5, like more than 4 schools. You're only going to go to 1. And so if you can cut out the like work before applying by just like making your list smaller, it saves you so much time and so much headache. But yeah, that's how I ended up doing it. That's a great question. And also, really quickly, I just put in the chat the link to the information for the conference that we're hosting on Saturday, and we're going to go over a lot of these information, especially with the differences between master's and PhD programs are. So if you guys are interested, I would apply tonight, because we're still going to be sending out information to all attendees either tomorrow or Friday. So if you are interested, I would highly suggest coming to this conference. You can check out who's coming and like the different sessions that we have that we're going to have on Saturday.
Thank you, Sebastian. I was actually going to ask you if you could put the code in the chat right now.
Yeah, and registration link is right on the website too.
Great.
It's a quick registration form.
One of you guys had a question right now. I think you guys got cut off. You're going to go ahead and ask it now.
That was me. Hi, guys. I just wanted to ask, because I noticed a couple of you ended up like studying something different from your undergrad. Specifically, I think it was Michael, who started in chemie and then is now doing PhD in biomed, right?
That was me, yeah.
Oh, you, I'm sorry.
No
I
worries.
must have got that switched it up. I wanted to ask, like, what is that like? And what was that transition like, and like how different and how difficult was that?
Yes, another great question. So as an undergrad, I was a chemical and in the chemical engineering department, but my research, even though I was in the chemical engineering department, was like a mix of like bioengineering type stuff. It's like works on like drug delivery stuff. And so I kind of like had that background in terms of research wise of like kind of like this biomedical research aspect. And so when I was looking at programs to apply to, looking at professors that I was interested in, I realized that a lot of times they were like, I would have like in one school, like the professor I was interested in was in the chemical engineering department. And in another school, the professor I was interested in was like in the bioengineering department. And so that's kind of like for things like in that realm of like biomedical / bioengineering, you'll sometimes get like professors that are in different departments based on what school they're in. And then in terms of like joining a different department and like transitioning, it was quite different. Like but I kind of enjoyed it because I was pretty tired of chemical engineering stuff. I had done like my bachelor's and my master's in chemical engineering. If I had to take fluids one more time, I was just gonna lose my mind. And so I was like happy to try something new. And I found that it was a lot more relevant to the research that I was gonna do. And so I got like to take classes on like drug delivery for the first time. And so that was pretty cool because I had spent 3 years researching that and I had never taken a single class about it. I had kind of just like self-taught myself. And so that's kind of like one of the main reasons why I wanted to try a different like department, was because I didn't want to keep taking the same classes over and over and over again. And I found that like the curriculum for like the biomedical engineering departments, in particular for USC, was quite flexible. And they had classes that were like really relevant to the type of research in terms of like nanoparticle fabrication and like delivery and things like that I was really interested in. And so it wasn't too bad. Like the classes were really, like they were pretty different from like what I had done before, but the one thing I will say is grad classes, for the most part, they don't grade as harshly. Like students aren't like, it's not like an undergrad where like, I think sometimes like there's like a big curve and things like that. Like, and like students are like really scared of like the grading curve and stuff. Like in my experience, like with my grad courses, both at Michigan as a master's student and at USC and BME, they were pretty chill in terms of grading. Like, for both USC and Michigan, like the minimum grade you needed to pass was a B. And so like you could, like I found that like it was like super hard to like do anything. Like you had to really try to like not get a B in like a lot of these classes. And so I thought like the grading, like that was nice because I wasn't really worried about grades anymore, and I thought it was a lot easier to like get a better grade. They are like master's courses are a lot of work, and so it depends on the program. I found like I ended up, I really liked USC because the courses that were available for BME students were pretty relevant to the research I wanted to do, so I found it quite enjoyable. So, but that's a great question. I thought the transition wasn't too terrible. And I'll make one last note, is that if you are like in terms of research, no matter where you go to, like you're gonna have a transition. Like even if you're going from one department doing research that is really similar to another department's research, you're always gonna have to relearn something. And I think what a lot of times grad schools want to see is that like your like ability to like pick up and learn new material, like that you've shown it like in the past. And so I wouldn't worry about like having to find like research that's exactly like the same research that you've done as an undergrad, if that's not particularly what you want to do, because you'll always have to like a learning curve. And so I've seen people who did work with like renewable energy as an undergrad and then studied like drug delivery as a grad student, and like that's totally okay. Like that's totally fine.
Thanks for the question, Alex. If you guys don't have another questions, I have some of my own that I want to ask the panelists. I know Michael touched a little bit on this, but can you guys tell me your experiences with SHIP, like how it helped you guys, or if any?
You want me to go? Or
Yeah, you can go.
so I was like the SHIP graduate ambassador, and I got involved with SHIP like a while back, and I implemented, it's like the we were starting to study for the PE exam. You know, sometimes if you're a civil guy, you definitely want to get that knocked out. Not so much for us mechanicals, but we started studying for that. So SHIP really helped me build up my leadership skills and my professional skills. You know, me and you know, all the guys that I graduated with, we would go to the SHIP conference, and that's where I learned about the GEM fellowship. So the GEM Fellowship, I put a link in the chat. If you guys don't know about the GEM Fellowship, I would just Google it. So the National GEM Consortium, and you can basically get support for your master's or PhD. So it's a great program to help you further get some fellowship money out there. And there's also the NSF fellowship you can apply to too. So but SHIP in general helped me to understand. If it wasn't for SHIP, I would have never even discovered the GEM Fellowship. And later down the road, I got the master's and the PhD GEM Fellowship for, I think it was 2 years. That was like $40,000 worth of grant money. And then I got the NASA space grant. That was another 40 grand worth of fellowship money. So there's also the NASA Space Grant Fellowship out there. So if you guys are at ASU, definitely apply to that. That will, it's basically doing a project. And if you need help with finding projects, I can help out with providing some direction for that. But yeah, SHIP, I've been with SHIP for, I don't know, 10 years, something like that. So it's been very helpful in terms of building me up as a professional. So
I can add on to that too, actually. So for me in SHIP, I spent maybe my first 3 years of undergrad kind of a bad SHIP member. Like I would be on and off, going to meetings and stuff. It's not my fault though. They always had meetings like Thursday night when I had like stuff to do. But anyway, the people I would meet at SHIP meetings, students who were older than me, when I was like a sophomore, I would talk to juniors and seniors and stuff. And like, just one of the topics of conversations that would always come up is like, what are your plans for after you graduate? You got a job lined up, stuff like that. And, a few people, that's how I started learning that, it's a totally valid path to go and do a master's or go and do a PhD instead of going straight to work, when I talked to them about, graduate school, they seemed like really driven and really focused and really, really passionate and really motivated to go and get a deeper understanding of, whatever topics, they're really passionate about. And so like, I personally really like that energy. And I didn't think that I would find a subject that I would have a passion for, but I did, taking, like my 300, 400 level classes, my engineering specific classes, I did find something that I was passionate about. And I did find, my personal reason to go and pursue a master's degree. I think if it hadn't been for, meeting all these people in SHIP and interacting with these other, focused and driven, engineering students, I think it wouldn't have had such an effect on me. And maybe I wouldn't have done a master's. Maybe I still would have, but it definitely was a factor in why I'm pursuing one now, for me personally.
I can go next. So I can kind of relate to Juan. So I really wasn't involved with SHIP much as an undergrad. I don't know what it was. Maybe like I'd go to the first meetings, and like I think I'd either have like work that same night, or I was like busy or something, but like I wasn't as heavily involved. And I also grew up in the same place where I did my undergrad, so I kind of had like a support network from that. And so I guess I just didn't really reach out to SHIP as much as I wanted to. But then as a graduate student, I started getting more involved as a master's student, because my research, I got invited to present my research at one of the SHIP conventions. And so that was the first time I went to a SHIP convention. And it was quite nice, because I found like a lot of students who were other graduate students who were applying to PhD, who were already PhD students. They gave me a lot of like great tips about for instance, like the fee waivers and things like that, and like learning about like oh, like, hey, you should probably cut down the number of schools you want to apply to, even though I didn't really listen because I was really stubborn, but like I should have. And like, I think that was really helpful, my master's year, especially applying to PhD. And then when I came to USC, I didn't really know anyone. Well, I knew like one person like in LA really. And so I didn't really have like that same support network, and it was kind of like daunting going to a new city. And there was some undergrads in my lab who were in Shep, and they told me about a meeting, and so I went for the free food, and then I met all the grad students there, and it was really great because they had like a really really active graduate chapter, and I found that really, really nice to have that support from other students. And that was like all of the last spring semester before COVID kind of cut everything down. I started to really meet people and get more involved with Shep, and it was nice. It was really great because, especially as a PhD student, I think a lot of times your work is quite lonely, and like you spend a lot of long hours in the lab by yourself. So it's nice to know that there are other people doing the same thing, and like when you're done, you have other people who you can socialize with and like kind of just reflect on go through the process through together. And so it's been really helpful for me in that regard. And so this year I got more involved. Now I'm the regional graduate representative, which is why I started like looking at ways to get more information about graduate school accessibility out there for students in the region, which is where part of the reasoning for why we have this conference upcoming Saturday was because we were like looking at ways in which we could kind of provide this information easily for students, especially right now with everything closed. But yeah, it's been a really great like support network in particular. I think that's very valuable, and like has helped me a lot, especially getting through like these tough times and with like COVID and like with everyone being so apart.
Thanks for the answers, guys. Like, for me, it was the same. I actually joined SHIP as a freshman in the undergrad, and I tried to go to the meetings as much as I could. It's a great support network. All the outreach events that they had were really nice, and it just helped me have like better communication skills and all that. And like again, I got the Intel co-op from the national convention back in 2018, I think. So it has really helped a lot. And now I'm more involved. I'm the grad ambassador for SHIP the ASU. So yeah, it has really helped. Does anyone else have some questions, or I have other ones if you guys don't?
I have a question. This is for Michael. So I'm studying mechanical engineering too, and I wanted to ask you, what made you want to get a master's in mechanical engineering?
This is from who asked the question?
Jorge?
Jorge? Oh, okay. You're mechanical too?
Yes.
And what year are you in?
I'm a sophomore.
So okay, so like this is your second year in undergrad?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we did an outreach program for high school students to like understand what kind of engineering they wanted to pursue. So, because for sure you're not going to switch, right, to anything else, or?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, all right. You're a diehard mechanical?
I think.
Yeah, so sometimes I know one of my personal friends, they have swapped out a couple times to aerospace or electrical or biomedical or chemical. So I actually was in it's called by Juan Bustos. I forget what it's called. It's like a math science. It's called the Math Science Honors Program at ASU, MSHP, And I was actually in that program. I don't know if anybody else was in it. But I was like surrounded by engineers, and it just seemed like, you know, mechanical engineering was, you know, one of the hot topics to kind of go towards. And I kind of stumbled in it. You know, there's nothing really like special that motivated me into it. As of today, now being in it and graduated and working in my field, and I'm not sure if I would have chose aerospace, to be honest, you know, because I do a lot of aerospace work, worked for, you know, aerospace companies. So, and my work is, you know, mainly fluid dynamics, you know, so it's, it's kind of an interesting path how it ended up going. And, you know, so like some advice, I'd be, you know, for someone who's coming up, to try to get into, you know, Fury, like Juan was saying that he went into, you know, so you can um, get a bunch of projects under your belt, and then, you know, as you get into graduate school, like kind of like Sebastian, you know, the path is just straightforward, and you know exactly what kind of research you want to do, and you and all the challenges within your field of study, so you can um, kind of work on those problems. And then when you get into the industry field, you know what problems industry is trying to solve as well. Um, but that's, you know, nothing, there wasn't like, you know, I've heard a lot of kids or a lot of coworkers say, oh, they were like passionate about it since they were young. And I was kind of, I just picked one, stuck with it, and kept going.
Yeah. Also, would you say it might be better to like do an undergrad in mechanical than do a master's in aerospace?
Yeah, mechanical and aero, they overlap quite a bit, right? So yeah, you're in your second year of mechanical, and aero, they both have the same. I think after the sophomore year, that's when the big transition, I believe, separates from all engineering fields. So it's, you know, I think the first 2 years is pretty similar, but in that third year, that's where the big transition kind of deviates from there. So if you're thinking about switching, you know, it's kind of natural because you're seeing what everybody else is doing. You're big in aerospace. You do the high-speed aero 1 and 2, and that's more in your junior year. And yeah, you'd really hate aerospace after that if you want to pursue it, or you're gonna love it. You know, it's kind of a, you know, like some people, they don't even want to touch Navier-Stokes ever again, you know, after their first couple of fluids classes, but then maybe you pick it up later down the road and start to, you know, love it by force or something like that. It's very, I don't know, it's very weird. So, but if you wanted to transition later down the road, they kind of overlap a lot, even in grad school, quite a bit. When you get into grad school, your first 2 years, you're mainly doing the same. The first year for sure, everyone is doing the same coursework. Your graduate linear algebra, I was a TA for grad linear algebra, TA for I think it was like PDEs, and so most of the same coursework goes on the first year, and then the second year, if you're still doing aero, it's kind of within the same sort of ballpark. So. Now, if you said you want to go from mechanical to like electrical, that's a big jump. That's a huge jump. Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Yep.
Great. Any other questions, guys, for the students that are left?
I was wondering, for the people who applied to PhD programs, do you have any sort of backup plan in case you weren't accepted into, I guess, any of them?
Yeah, I don't know if I really did. I kind of just put all my like everything into that, and I probably should have. I think my thought was that I would apply to like the programs that I could really see myself like going to like doing 4 years with, and then if I didn't get into any of those, I would like look for a job and maybe work a year or two, and then maybe try applying again if I really wanted to, because I had already done my master's, and so that's kind of like what my thought process was. But yeah, I think I really only did apply to schools that I could really see myself going to. Well, I applied to way too many schools, but the like kind of like 4 or 5 that I was really considering, I could see myself going to, and then if those didn't work out, then I would have probably just worked for a year or two, and then maybe applied again. But that was for me. That was my circumstance. I've seen people who have applied, gotten like rejected from all the schools they wanted to go to, which isn't very uncommon. Like graduates, some programs are really small, and like it can be pretty competitive sometimes. Especially some cycles can be more competitive than others. But if I've seen students who have applied, not gotten in, and then like done research with a professor for a year, like, and then kind of built up their like research resume, got in a paper out, gotten some more experience, maybe better recommenders, something like that, and then applied again in the following cycle. And so that's common. I've seen that many times. But yeah, that my backup plan was probably just to go find a job.
To add on to what Sebastian said, I did know a couple of guys who were going to do direct PhD. So like they were going to graduate with a bachelor's and then do go directly into a PhD program with ASU. And some of them told me, like I've asked them the same question, like, oh, so like, you know, what's your plan in case like a PhD doesn't, you know, pan out? One of them told me that there are programs to where, you know, say you get halfway through your PhD, you know, you're not really feeling it by the end, you're feeling really burnt out. I think depending on how many credits you've taken at that point, you could probably qualify to actually get a master's, especially if you're like 2 or 3 years into a PhD and you're not quite finished, you just want to be done. I think that was an option for one of them. Another thing, you know, as far as the backup plan goes, like Sebastian said, worst case scenario, you still have a bachelor's in engineering, right? So it's still very lucrative, still very a good credential to have, and it'll still make you, you know, plenty competitive, you know, to go and get, you know, a really good job, right? So, you know, that's I mean, I say worst case, but you know, it's definitely not, you know, as bad as that seems, right? It's not such a bad sounding case, right? So that's just my input. I'm not doing PhD, but that's just from people I know who I've asked that same question to.
Yeah, and that's actually very true. So pretty much in all PhD programs, you can get like your master's along the way. When you're along the way of your PhD studies within like maybe like the 2nd or 3rd year. And so that is an option, like in case like you're in a PhD program and you're not really like wanting to continue, that you can do that. And then for some people that might be their best like option. It's really case by case. I think though, if you are interested in doing a PhD, I would like really like think about like when you're applying to schools, make sure that you're applying to the programs that you can really see yourself like being there for like 4 to 5 years for, in case like that is what you end up doing. Because I've also seen people who kind of thought, oh, I was gonna, if I didn't want to go, I could get like a master's and then get out. And then they ended up staying there and finishing their PhD, but they like really didn't like it, and like it got really tedious, and it was like they just like kind of didn't like hated the whole process and stuff. I would definitely be wary of like where you're applying to and making sure that it's somewhere where you or can see yourself succeeding in? Oh, that's a great question. I just saw the question in the chat. And I can actually answer this because I was in the same, I was kind of in the same boat where because I was transitioning from so many majors, I really struggled in like my first couple of years as an undergrad. And so like I didn't do well academically like at all. I didn't really know where I was gonna do. Like in the summers I didn't really have, like my first years I didn't really have anything I was doing. I was just like working jobs to like pay for college. And so like I didn't really, like a lot of my peers who were engineers had been doing internships or they were like doing research projects, and I really wasn't. I felt like I was pretty far behind. And so I started to really build my resume like after my second year, and the way I got it to like the way I added something into my resume without really having much other things was volunteering my time in a research lab. And I like started off as just like a volunteer, and then like I guess just doing more like research and work, and that let me like my research experience let me apply to different programs such as like the Germany program. And that like after I got that one research experience, I got another research experience, and that led to like papers that I got to put on my resume, and like different projects I got to talk about. And that's where my like where I started to build my resume. So if you're unsure about like how to build your resume halfway through your undergrad, I would highly suggest potentially looking at like different professors at ASU and seeing if there's anyone who's doing like research that might interest you, because that's how I really turned my undergrad around. It like really helped me like open up opportunities for myself for the second half of college. And I think if I hadn't done research, I probably would have just like scraped my way through academics and like just graduate and like try to get a job quickly out of college. But research really gave me like some sort of like structure to then like continue building upon and then applying to things that I was more interested in. Also, leadership opportunities and extracurricular clubs. I think that's also something that's super underrated. I like joined an engineering team at the University of Michigan, and it really helped me. What do you call it? It really helped me kind of meet other students really in engineering who were doing a lot better than I was, and like I got to like spend time with them, and like kind of like I like put myself in a position where I could be a leader within the club, and that really gave me like some structure as well. And that also was a big talking point, especially when I was like going to career fairs and in my applications. People like would always mention to me like the different student orgs that I was involved with, especially the engineering clubs that I was involved in. They were either had done something similar themselves, like the recruiters, because the recruiters are human, like they find interest in like particular things sometimes. Or they thought it was like a pretty cool project. And so that was also another way in which I built my resume. And I think I saw in the chat says, I didn't think of reaching out to research labs. And yeah, they're not only for grad students. Like my lab here at USC, we have 11 undergrads and 3 grad students. And so like, I think like it's a great resource to get some experience, to like also apply to things you learn in class. Like I didn't understand anything I was doing in class, like why it was important, until like actually joined a research lab, and like I slowly started realizing, oh, okay, wait, this is what this was when I was looking at it in class, or this is how I'm actually applying it, like this one thing and another. And it makes it like kind of demystifies the whole like everything you learn in class, because sometimes it can be kind of overwhelming. And so I think it's a great opportunity to kind of reinforce things that you see in your classes, and also like build up your resume.
Thanks for that answer, Sebastian. if you guys don't have any questions, I don't want to hold you for too long. It's already like going to be 6. But if you guys don't have any other questions, then I think I'm gonna stop recording for now. If any more questions, guys? All right. Then I will stop recording.